QUICKLIST 15 Strangest People Met, according to Reddit. Number 15. I was flying out of South Africa one evening and sat next to this big older fellow from Europe. We proceeded to drink together and trade some stories. He began his story with his work as a tour guide in the region. Didn't think much of it until he specified that it was specifically for European tourists. Thinking that was a bit odd, I asked why, and he told me that he did this work during apartheid in South Africa, and these were the only tourists that would be allowed in. Out of nowhere, he drops the bombshell that he did this guided driving tour strictly as a means to smuggle weapons into South Africa to arm the ANC in their fight against the apartheid regime. He didn't really care much about giving tours, but it was kind of a side gig apart from the smuggling. He proudly defined himself as an ethical weapons smuggler. The drunker he got, the more interesting his anecdotes he'd provide. So, yeah, I met a South African weapons smuggler on a plane. Well, does that count as strange? I guess, depending on who you're talking to. Number 14. Years ago when I worked at a shipping and copying place, similar to Kinko's, a guy would come in every so often with a stack of newspapers. He would cut up parts of the different articles and tape the sections together to form his own stories, like a serial killer. He would then run what he made through the copier to make it look like it was one article. He would then show them to me and tell me they were about him. Okay. Usually, the finished article was a combination of world news about terrorism and the sports section. The overall story was that he is a CIA agent fighting terrorism, and his cover was being the quarterback for the Chicago Bears. Da Bears. I think I'm done with this entry. As we roll up to number 13, we read George. The first day I met him, he was rubbing his tummy under the shirt. It was weird, but not scary. I didn't think he was trying to be weird. I just thought that he wanted to rub his tummy, and this was the time to do it. Mere coincidence that we were speaking, I suppose. One time, he was shouting in his office, "Shut up, slave! Shut up, slave!" over and over. We couldn't tell what he was saying at first, but he left quickly towards the elevators, still shouting in the lobby. He would try to touch your elbow with his instead of high-fiving or anything. He'd have random outbursts, similar to the shut up slave, but more contained. Like he'd know his reaction was uncalled for. However, he wasn't able to control what he was saying. As I got to know him more, I could tell that he was working on it and trying to get himself under control. However, I don't know if he ever got diagnosed with anything. Isn't that something? Number 12. My friend Nick in high school, he supposedly had Tourette's. I say supposedly because this man would walk around school yelling the N-word and fuck and shit, etc. But I was talking to his mom when I stayed the night, and she said that he never went to the doctor and was never diagnosed, so he's just faked it for 4 years now. Wow. Some bossy in the word wow. Okay, as we roll up to number 11. Jesus Christ, write me a freaking novel, why don't you? Number 11, I'll call him Dan. Dan was my roommate in a military school. Military is already full of weirdos, but Dan owns it. Here's a slight list of the atrocities that I had with my man Dan. My man Dan. Dan kept a dead bird that he found outside in his desk. He wanted to get its bones and sell it to a museum. Okay. Dan was filling up a half-gallon bottle with dip spit. Ugh. He planned, that's what it says, was to one day use the collected amount and repackage it into empty dip cans to sell it to people? I almost threw up twice remembering this. One day he didn't tighten the lid and it spilled into his footlocker. 3 times, almost threw up. In 6 months of knowing Dan, I saw him shower 3 times. Well, he was quite the stinky fellow. I was his roommate. He thought he was a vampire. I asked him why. He said he didn't like the sunlight, and I explained that he never went into the sun, so that's why it bothered him. He said that his mom had to file his fangs when he was born, and I explained to him that newborns do not have teeth usually. He told me he drank blood and liked it. I asked him if it was his. He said no. I asked him who the fuck gave him the blood. He said he was sworn to secrecy. Oh my God. I said the name of another weirdo at school because I just fucking knew it. And he was basically like, that's him. Oh my God. We had these giant bed covers that we called bed condoms. It was a large cloth-like bag that you put over a twin mattress in our barracks bunk beds. Nobody used them because it made it harder to make your bed for inspections. The reason I bring this up, Dan never did his laundry. We had pickup service. Literally, you just leave a bag of clothes out of your door and someone picks it up and folds it. Dan never did his laundry, and Dan's laundry was too much for his laundry bag. Dan started using his bed condom. Dan filled his bed condom, and one day I threatened to beat his ass if he didn't get his laundry done. I woke up in the morning prior to the pickup and went to go shower. As I was leaving, my God, I witnessed him pouring his dirty ass laundry onto his bed. I went to shower, and when I came back, Dan was cocooned in a massive pile of dirty laundry on his bed that he was sleeping naked in. He did not emerge from his sacred slumber as a beautiful butterfly. He was still just Dan. Dan would masturbate at my computer at night when he thought I was asleep to weird anime flash games. There it is. I only caught him once and changed my password. Ooh, he was on your computer. Nice. Who knows how many times he stroked that Vienna sausage till his eyes rolled back. Oh my God. One time my buddy and I went out. We came back to watch a movie and Dan had like 3 beers or whatever, so he was laying in his bed. There was a beer bottle on my desk, in which my buddy asked if it was mine, and I said no. He said it was almost empty, so he was going to spit in it, and he put a dip in. After about 10 minutes, he said he didn't want to spit in it anymore because it was warm. I said something about it was on the top of my computer hard drive, so maybe the computer warmed it up, but he left for a minute. Dan proceeded to tell me that the bottle was warm because he peed in it. He left it on my desk. I beat up Dan. Dan apparently would whack his porker into a Sprite bottle at some point. He left the bottle out one day. Dan left boogers under my desk. Dan was morbidly obese and disgusting. Somehow Dan's mom was fine, shockingly attractive. Dan brought a Russian trench coat and a gas mask. Sounds about right. I don't fucking know where from. He would sometimes sleep in them. In a Russian trench coat and a gas mask. Dan snored loudly. Dan regularly would get beat up for calling blacks the no-no word and stealing other people's tobacco or booze. Dan was also beat up because he sneezed without covering his face, and a bloody booger landed on my friend's back in class. Dan laughed uncontrollably and refused to apologize. Dan was beaten up by the victim of the blood booger. How did this turn into stories about Dan? People were not fond of Dan. One night he was sprayed with the fire extinguisher while watching anime porn on his computer and hallucinating on Robitussin. It just gets fucking... The Tussin. He fell down and busted his head. No, he fell down and busted his head. Dan got written up because the sow that he drank blood from and Dan were caught repeatedly playing around the dumpster by the cadet chain of command. We do not know why they liked the dumpster. One time I walked into the room and there was a strange gold tint to it. I had been gone all weekend and I was confused. I walked into my room and was like, basically, what the fuck? I looked over and I see Dan and blood donation idiots smiling at me with gold paint on their mouths. I noticed the spray paint can on the desk. I left the room. Ever heard of pouring Listerine through slice of bread with the filter? Will filter the alcohol out so that you can drink it? I will shut this whole thing down right now. Boy, ever heard of pouring Listerine through a slice of bread because it will filter the alcohol out so that you can drink it? Dan heard this rumor too. Dan got sick the day after, growing frustrated and eating the slice of bread. Ever heard that if you leave oranges out, the mold can make you hallucinate? Me neither, but Dan did. He grew frustrated and ate the orange. Dan was sick again, but he won't get scurvy. I am forgetting things about Dan. I know it. I may add if I remember some things. I was not fond of Dan. Oh God. Enough. Number 10. For me it was Miguel. Miguel was from Quebec, and I met him in Portugal while studying same film classes. He was super friendly in a weird way, like not understanding social rules and being way too expressive at times. He picked up the language very quickly, and he also spoke English, Spanish, and a bit of Russian. He was mostly stoned during the years that I was friends with him, and he had the craziest ideas for making movies, but he always did a lousy job. Once he decided to build a giant lobster. Just because. I never understood his mind. Plus, he was always begging for money. I met him a few years later in different cities, and he was the same. Clearly, out of his mind. Well, alright. Just jerking it to anime. Number 9. I managed a bookstore for a long time, and you can run into your share of weirdos there. I could tell a million stories, but one of the weirdest was this lady who came in a few times who would get a dozen books, browse through them, ask us to hold them, and then never ask to see them again or buy them. So we began just reshelving stuff immediately. One day she came in, took over this one sitting area that she had probably close to 100 books piled on the coffee table and the floor, and the other customers sitting there were clearly starting to get annoyed. I went over with a library card and offered to take some of the books to the front of the store to hold them until she was done shopping. She said no. I said at the very least I need to put the books on the cart because it was hazardous to have piles of books in the aisle. But when I knelt to pick them up, she grabbed my hand, slammed them on the table, pinning my wrist down, and legit snarled at me. I managed to stay calm, told her to get her hands off of me, told one of my co-workers, who was nearby, to call the police. When the police came, they asked me if I wanted to press charges for assault, but I said no. Just wanted her trespassed from the property. He wrote out a trespass order, and she pulled a folder out where she had a stack of trespass orders from various local businesses and filed it alphabetically. I guess she got banned from so many places that she found it hard to keep track. The police ended up having to stay for a while because she kept circling her car through the parking lot and screaming obscenities at me. I don't remember everything that she said, but I do know at one point she said, fuck you. You're not the real Princess Diana. I knew the real Princess Diana and you aren't her, motherfucker. Yeah. She sounds like she's got all of them marbles. You know what I mean? None of them are lost there. Oh. It took us over an hour to reshelve all her goddamn books. I looked up her name online later when I got home, and it turned out she was a prominent real estate agent in the next city over. I cannot imagine showing up to an open house held by that lunatic. You know, people are crazy. They just hide it well. Have you met your own parents? Number 9. Plus 1 minus 2. I used to work the drive-thru at a Del Taco that was open 24 hours a day. I had several odd experiences with a regular who came in about once a week towards the end of my employment there. Experience number 1. Man comes to a window and asks if our bean and cheese burrito is organic. I say, probably not, but I am not sure. He decides that this means that they must absolutely 100% be organic and orders 3 of them. Experience 2. Same man comes to my window shirtless. He explains that he is only shirtless because he was sweating profusely moments earlier. It's 2 a.m. in the morning, by the way. Proceeds to hold a soaking wet t-shirt up to the window for me to touch as proof. Experience number 3. The same man comes to my window, does not order anything, but tells me he is very happy that we are open 24 hours a day because he is only awake at night. Experience number 4. The same man comes to the window to tell me about a yoga studio he has been frequenting, because they are open until 3 a.m. He suggests that I check it out. He does not order his usual organic bean and cheese burrito, but rather our fish tacos because he has decided to eat fish. He was a nice man. A very nice man, but a very strange man. Number 7. A friend of a coworker of mine named Jake, or Mark, depending on if he was on hard drugs or not that day. Can you imagine changing your name? Nice. Mark would come up to work and visit, super nice and normal guy. Pleasant to be around, nothing creepy. Khakis, nice polo shirt. He would go on hard drug binges, shooting up cocaine and shit. That's when Jake would show up. Biker, leather, bandana on his head, and his voice dropped 2 octaves and somehow sounded hoarse, like he was a chain smoker. Jake would have waved guns around his head, describing the 2 different times that he witnessed friends kill themselves. Jake would just stare at you, breathing heavily, considering that what he could do to you. Jake would shove an entire unbroken up gram nug of weed in his bong with his thumb, smoke it down in one drawn out hit, then smash the bong against the wall. Mark was so nice though. Brought me a fruit smoothie one time. What a great guy. Who's Mark? I'm Jake. Smashing bongs against the wall, Jesus Christ. Number 6. When I lived in Hawaii, I used to meet a lot of weirdos. It's hard to pick a winner out of them, but I'll go with the crazy Welsh guy for this entry. I was sitting at a bus stop reading when he approached me. Like to read, eh? The caps lock is appropriate here because he always spoke like he just found out that you were fucking his wife. He's just barely refraining from going completely ballistic. He's only barely refraining from going completely ballistic. Yeah, I said. I have a book of poems I've written, boy. Would you like to read them? I guess so. I said. He then thrust a manila folder at me and added, "They're written backwards because they're about the Jews that the Jews stole a time. Who the Jew? What? They're about who the Jews stole time." What? Thanks, I said. I hope you like them, he said, and then he walked away. According to the writing on the packet, he was the co-president of the Hawaiian Welsh Astral Society, which met weekly at a nearby park. The poems began with photocopies of a bunch of news articles that he had annotated with comments that I couldn't make any sense of before getting into the poetry itself, which made no reference to Jews anywhere that I could see, but were dated in reverse chronology, which I guess is what he meant by them being written backwards. They were not very good poems. There once was a Jew from Nantucket who stole all our time and then stuck it in places obscure with intentions unpure, and if you didn't like this, then suck it. Number 5. An old classmate who I met after 20 years. We talked for 1 hour, exchanged numbers, and the next day he called me and yelled at me. He accused me of calling his sister in the night to frighten her. I was like, dude, I don't even have her number. How and why should I call her? I convinced him that it wasn't me and told him to delete my number. That's the end of that entry. Number 4, I called him John the Liar. He was a coworker of mine in college at a sporting goods store. He lied about everything, not just embellishing stories or adding a few extra details, just straight up lies. He would lie about what he ate for lunch, even though I saw him eat it. He told our manager that his dad was a 6'5" Marine who helped take down Osama bin Laden. And then an hour later, he told me his dad was a quadriplegic and had been so for 30 years. Then he told me that he had gotten an override from the administration to take 24 credits one semester as a biology major. Then I found out he was still in high school. It was absolutely psychotic. I finally had to confront him about it when he started telling customers the completely wrong specs on all the guns we carried. He just lied some more and said that I was wrong or that I misunderstood him. Eventually, I had to ask my supervisor to schedule me on a different shift because I couldn't take it anymore. You fucking liar. You liar. And no, Prelude, that was not Poem for Your Sprog. He's a friend of mine. And why did you spell it Sproge? What the fuck you mean, Poem for Your Sproge? What do you think this is? Prelude. Poem for Your Sproge. As we continue up this list, we arrive at number 4. Just kidding. 3. I went to a wilderness survival school, and there was this guy there named Charlie who never wore a shirt. He rode this really beat-up motorcycle everywhere and mined Bitcoin for a living. Nice. He didn't rig a tent, so he slept on a tarp on the ground for a whole week and ate canned beans even though we provided meals. He cried a lot and hugged everyone at the end of the week. Charlie was pretty cool, to be honest. Was Charlie a unicorn? Hey, do you mine Bitcoin? Do you have money? You a Bitcoin millionaire? I don't believe you. If you say that you're a Bitcoin millionaire, I don't believe you, man. I would believe you if you gave me a bunch of money, though. And not a bunch like a bunch, but I mean like, I don't know, $50. I'd be like, wow, you must really have Bitcoin money. Special thanks for all of you getting things off the wish list. I hope you have a wonderful Halloween, you know. People are going to be like, man, if anybody checks the date after I said that, then I win. Number 2, in my small hometown, there was this guy called Waving Dave. Waving Dave would walk the 15-mile stretch between the 3 towns that we had in the area on the highway and wave at all the cars. Back in the 1970s, WD's parents died, and he inherited tons of money. Not knowing how to be responsible with the money, he went and boiled his brain on drugs. He was left in a permanent state of bliss. And because he couldn't keep a job, he spent his days walking and waving. Well, Dave may be living a life more easy than the rest of us if he can, you know, genuinely have that bliss, baby. Oh man, what a painless existence. Damn. If only we could have the secret to that concoction. Number 1 on the quick list of 15 strangest people met reads, the cemetery groundskeeper in our hometown. He did a very good job, but he'd hover over people when they visited a grave, as if he didn't want anyone in his cemetery. People wondered why he'd have his lunch inside the mausoleum on the grounds on sunny days instead of being outdoors. And he'd say, I'd prefer being with the dead than the living. Okay. That's the end of that list. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like this quick format, you can't just like the video, even though I appreciate it. You gotta leave a comment going, hey man, I like this format video. Because if you don't, then they'll vanish. You know, just trying to see what you might enjoy. I just want to give you what you want, you know, shorter, to the point, maybe more frequent, you know. Here's what you can expect, balls. Here's what you can expect, balls. What the fuck? Forgive me, I'm just taking a look at the front page. Sad cringe. Wanting to become a meme. Ending up on sad cringe. That's funny. That's funny. Wait. Is this like a response to another post? All I want in life is to become a meme. Please use my face and things. Edit to your heart's content. That's so sad. That's so sad. That's so sad. Are they really doing it though? Oh my god. That's fucked up. What is this? Woman recites poems in her underwear and nobody really cares. Ew, look at her face. Ew. Bro, what the fuck is going on the internet? Okay, that is enough. Somebody said watching the actual videos actually kills laughter very quickly. Yeah, that's sad cringe, alright, where it just sucks all of the love and life out of the films. Somebody says I frequent a subreddit called Unknown Videos a lot, and she's been spamming the sub quite a bit. Nice. Hey, you guys have heard of trending, but have you heard of trending? What the fuck? Animated rants about ladybirds. Look, guys, let me level with you. None of this matters. I'm beginning to lose sight of the meaning of it all. Go to my wish list, and I don't know, I've put some pretty amusing things on there, like a candle surrounded by elephants, or elephant key rack hooks. I'll tell you what, I've only ever seen one key thing that I ever wanted, and it was like an amp, like you plug in the amp. Do you get what I'm saying there? I think I need to describe that better for the internet. Amp. Here it is. Something like this. But some of them are like hilarious price wise. I only need one with like 2 in it for real. This one looks gay, but I'll take a look. This one looks better. And this is probably the best one. That's probably the one I want. I'll throw that on there. It's only available from certain sellers. Hey, look at that. That's pretty nerdy, man. I like it. I like it. What a bitch. I like it. Damn, why did Amazon know what to show me? I feel like a hoe. This would make me feel like a true gay boy if I put this over my my light switch. That's some gay boy stuff right there. Guys, you take it easy. Live that life. Have a wonderful day. I'll love and miss ya. You know? Let's see what the chat is saying before I end this video. What? Nonamerp says, glad to be able to catch one of your live streams. Yeah, this one was a shorter one than normal. I apologize, but I gotta get out of here. So you guys take it easy. Stripe says, Kyle, did you look at the tree ornaments that I sent you? No, but I'll check them out eventually. Are they safe for work? Maybe we can all look at them together. Boom. Here they are. Man. Yeah, those will never get here in time. They're kawaii, though. And I suppose that's what matters. Stripes would frequent a site called Hey Chickadee. With that, guys, I let you go. I release you back into the wild. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Love you. Take it easy. Talk soon.